And welcome back to the Form is Temporary podcast. We're pleased to say that we've got a great guest on for our preview of Gameweek 4. He is in the FPL community known for his infamous top 10k finish. But he definitely didn't but of course, we are going to be looking ahead to Gameweek 4, back after the international break, a 1 week off, just to kind of get the juices flowing again. See what I did there, Ash?
I see, yeah, very good.
Game week. But yeah, it's an absolute pleasure to welcome on FPL Juices, Ash. How are you, Ash?
It's good to be here, my friends. Been a long time coming. You've been asking, and years later, here I am. So yeah, I appreciate you inviting me on. I think I don't often get invited onto these podcasts. I think just because people just know that because I'm top 10k, they're like in awe of my ranks. So it's nice to have your company tonight, mate.
Absolutely. No. At the end of the day, your ranks, they're not, the biggest, most popular.
Whoa. Slow down, fellas. Slow down. That's no way to butter up your guests, my friend.
All I'm saying is, you give a lot when it comes to your FPL credentials, and let's just finish in the top 100k. But no, very, very good finish in that one season. So hopefully you can replicate that at some point soon. But yes, of course. Thanks again, Chris, for coming on to co-host with me once again. How are you, Chris?
I'm well, thank you. Yeah, I'm glad to see the back of the international break and glad to get back into the bread and butter of FPL. And yeah, just glad to have Ash on with us again. I'll try and be a bit more diplomatic and say I'm here to soak up your knowledge, mate. So yeah.
Yeah, see, I like you, Chris. Yes, my guy. Yeah, you're coming on the juice very soon, my friend. You know how to play this game. And by the way, I'm 39k in the world this season. Just say it. I just want to get that in really early doors, just so you guys understand the caliber of manager that I am, and I'm likely to fall right the way down to about 1 million by game week 38. Just to let you know.
Yeah, no, I thought you'd get that in there very early because I know what you're like when it comes to, getting excited at the start of the season, manager of the month, and then it just all falls off the rails. So yeah, no, good to see you're doing your customary good start to a season. But no, all jokes aside, it's going to be an exciting game week ahead. A lot of people have activated the wild card with the first international break of the season, and we'll kind of pick through what our teams are looking like, maybe look at some wildcard drafts and see if it's worth activating them. And also look back at the last game week 3, just briefly touch on that and how we got on with potential transfers there. We've got some differentials for the first time this season. We brought that back this week. So we're going to talk through maybe some under 10% owned players that no one's really been talking about and, potentially could get you big returns this weekend. And then we'll, of course, end with the quiz, which we always love to do, test your footballing talents against each other. And, after Elite FPL's, let's be honest, Ash, slightly embarrassing show, I'm sure you can get redemption here, can't you?
No, they stitched me up, mate. I'm not. Anyone that says otherwise is lying. They stitched me right up on that show. So yeah, as long as the questions are fair, then I'm gonna show you lot what I'm made of. But if you're coming incorrect like those guys, then it's not going to be looking good for me, bro.
Well, we'll see.
What's that?
Well, as a quizmaster, I mean, the pressure's on. Last season when we had Jack on, he was often the quizmaster. And so I've kind of had to develop this taste for making the quizzes. And I feel like maybe I should have done enough by now that they should be good for you, Ash. I think this could be your level.
He's getting the digs in early. I like it.
Yeah, you got to give it back if you can take it. So, all right, let's get into the first thing of the episode, which is looking back at game week 3, how we got on. Now, the highest score of game week 3 between the three of us was you, Ash, with 81. Just the one transfer made, as you say, up into the top 37k. But yeah, how did you get on in game week 3, and what were the kind of main positives? Really, I saw you had Nedeljkovic there with a 1-pointer. Your favorite guy, Ned.
Ned's smashing it for me, mate. Honestly, he's probably my best. He's my best and only transfer that I've made this season. He came in for Jarell Quansah, so net +1 up on that transfer, mate. So I'm really, really pleased with that move. Obviously, he's got some favourable fixtures coming up, and I do think with Cash being now injured and the experiment of that other right back, I can't remember what his name is now. For Villa, not really. What was his name?
Bogard, I think.
Something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, Bogard, that's it.
Bogard, yeah, it didn't really work for him. He was getting absolutely like thrashed down that wing, that right side. So I don't think he'll be starting the next game. I really think that Nedeljkovic will be first choice for the foreseeable, or at least till Cash comes back. He did play a couple of times for Serbia in the international break as well. So the kid's obviously got something. So yeah, no, pleased with him. But yeah, 81 points was my total for the game week. That was the only free transfer that I'd made. Highlights were really Haaland on the captain, 17 points. Got the hat trick. It seems so far like long ago, don't it? It seems like it was ages ago. But yeah, the hat trick against West Ham, he was just absolutely unstoppable. Would probably be the best description word that I can use for him. Salah, 17 points as well. So matching Haaland. He got a goal and 2 assists away at Man United. So he put in a real stonking performance. So that was good. My other strikers all chipped in. So Alexander Isak finally getting off the mark for Newcastle. So he got a goal against Spurs at home. So it's about time that he really got, some points on the board for us, because a lot of people were losing patience with him, weren't they? And Chris Wood was the other one, really. He got another. He's continued his really good start to the season. That's his second goal of the season. And he could have had another one at the end of the game. He was just marginally offside. But yeah, really, really happy with him. Got a 9-pointer, 7.6% ownership at the moment. So he's still quite a nice differential, although he's got tough fixtures coming up. But yeah, those were the main highlights. All the rest got 2s and 1s, mate. So it's like the Matrix for the rest of the team.
Yeah, I saw Nick mentioned on the Juice show, about how you went with Salah and Haaland at the start of the season. And, we talked about it at the start of the season. I saw you at Fest. And we said, you seemed very kind of confident you'd go for the 2 big hitters there. Did it ever cross your mind? Because I think a lot of people did go for one of Salah or Haaland to have a more balanced squad overall. But were you ever thinking that, your squad was balanced enough, you wouldn't need to just choose one of them?
If I didn't think it was balanced, I wouldn't have done it. As far as I was concerned, Haaland is the best striker in the league and Salah is the best midfielder in the league. Salah didn't play any football in Europe. That was another factor, over the Euros. He didn't have any competitions whilst, during the summer. So he was coming into the season super fresh. He's got consistent output. He's got proven track record and history. So I was just very, very confident that I was happy to build my team around Haaland and Salah. And it's proved to have been the right formula, because now everyone's on wildcard. And guess who they're trying to bring into their team? Haaland and Salah, because they're the 2 best players. Like, you can build a team around Haaland and Salah. I've proved it. I don't think my team's totally off. But you might argue my defense is a little bit light. But with the moves that I'm making this game week, I look to address that. So yeah, no regrets, mate. I'm still happy. People might say, "Oh, it's a 2-man team, whatnot." 2-man team's doing the business, mate. Doing the business. So say something.
I know, it definitely makes sense. Do you think, Chris, that going forward, if you haven't got both Salah and Haaland and you're relying on the players like Isak, players like Saka and Palmer, who are, that slightly bit cheaper to deliver, do you think that's going to maintain where, maybe these players like Saka and Palmer don't quite, blaze it like Salah and Haaland are at the moment? And, you with these squads that are a bit more towards Salah and Haaland prices, they are reliant on Salah and Haaland just keeping up the tempo. Do you think that will continue in the coming weeks, or will it even out, do you think?
I think it's like what you said, Roberto. I think they are probably more explosive assets than maybe a Saka. Certainly, we saw last season Palmer can go off really with a massive haul. So I think he's, from my perspective, he's one to definitely be considering making a move for with Chelsea's fixtures coming up. But I think the Salah and Haaland double up is just I can't see how you can go without it at the moment. Anyway, even. Salah's fixtures look great up until the next international break. And Haaland, he's got the tough fixture against Arsenal, I suppose. And is it Newcastle away as well? But you just back him to score in any game. So really, for me, I think you've got to be quite pragmatic, really. And if you can have them both in your team, I think it's just the sensible option, really.
I see the argument, and I definitely agree that on current form, both Salah and Haaland feel hard to go without. It's interesting when it comes to, I think, a lot of people booking in that kind of potential game week 6 for a wild card, because when you see the fixture swing there of, maybe some Arsenal players that people will want to move to, and you got players like Saka who become very, very enticing, then you're starting to, move funds around, and it becomes very difficult to potentially build a Salah and Haaland draft. So do you think from that point on, Salah could be less essential, Ash, or do you think it's just Salah's got to stay in at this point?
No, I think Salah just stays in at this point, mate. He's a 90-minute forward for that team. I know they've just brought in Chiesa, but he's still going to be the main man. He's on the penalties. Like Chris said, he's got the run of fixtures. I agree with Chris in the sense of Saka not being as explosive. Palmer's the one really that I've got the most FOMO over not owning. I just think he's such a class act. Like he's unreal. He can go off at any time. Saka tends to be more consistent. He'll get a goal. He rarely gets the brace, does he? He rarely gets more than, he rarely gets like 3 or more as like goal returns in a game. But he's the one that will tick along quite consistently. So I'm quite happy to go without Saka. And I'm hoping, everyone's been talking about these injuries that Arsenal are suffering at the moment. I'm hoping that might provide a little bit of an option moving forward for when that fixture swing happens for Arsenal, that maybe somebody emerges from that Arsenal team that looks a bit more sort of value than perhaps a Saka. Maybe I've got my eyes on Sterling. I really want to see how Sterling fits into this team, because I've got a space where I'm going to be getting rid of Bruno if he doesn't really start putting his finger out. And it could be that Sterling is one of those players that makes his way into my team. But like I said, it might not work out for him at all at Arsenal, but it's just an interesting one to keep an eye on. But the other thing that came into my thinking when having Haaland and Salah was I can move off of these players whenever I want to, right? Everyone else that didn't have them has had to use a wild card to bring them in, because it is quite difficult to find that money when you spread the funds around. By having the most expensive assets, it allows you the freedom to move off them. If Salah gets injured, bosh, he comes out of the team and I can get anyone. I literally can pick anyone. I can pick Palmer, Saka, whoever. And that was the idea behind it, is to give myself the flexibility to move off those players if need be. But yeah, I'm not in I didn't have Saka a lot. Like, I think I had Saka for a little bit last season. He's just not he's not explosive enough, I don't think, compared with other people like Palmer and like Salah. And perhaps even like, I know Jota had a quiet game last game against United, but I think Jota is one of those players that can really do some damage with his clinicalness, if that's even a word. So a couple to watch out for, I think.
Yeah, no, I think that's very interesting, as you say, with that kind of conversation around having them first and then moving off them if you need to. It's a nice place to be. I think just a lot of people were very, at the start of the season, kind of very intent on having great squads. And I guess at the start of the season, you want to kind of go safe just so you don't get left behind early. You want to stay with the pack and then give yourself a chance to maybe have different squads, later on in the season. But I understand the thinking as well that, it's just a lot of surgery to get to them. So, yeah, I think interesting front line as well, because with Chris Wood there, you mentioned, he's done quite well the last few weeks. He has got Liverpool this week. And, there were some comments from Nuno about Chris Wood coming back from the international break. So are you a bit concerned about him, or are you going to try and hold him through this game week fixture?
No, I'll keep him. He'll be on the bench this week anyway. Away at Liverpool. I didn't know. I didn't see the comments from Nuno on him, but I assume he was playing for New Zealand in the international break. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's got a long flight home. But yeah, he was going to be on the bench anyway. Away at Liverpool, I don't. They've got 3 clean sheets this season. They rarely get beaten at home. And yeah, he was never going to play this week in my team anyway. Not with the transfers that I've got planned. So. But he was in the team because he was a cheap forward that I knew was going to start, and Forest did have some really good early fixtures, and that proved to be the case. He scored in 2 of them, and the one he didn't score was against Southampton, which is out of the 3. You'd have thought that's the one that he was bound to score it.
Yeah.
But he's looked really, really dangerous. He looks like he's just continued the form that he showed back end of last season. I think he scored 14 goals last season. So, and yeah, the fixtures that are coming up after Liverpool look okay. Brighton away, Fulham at home, Chelsea away, Palace at home, Leicester away, West Ham at home. So he's got some decent fixtures, and he's definitely playable in some of those games. So I'll be holding on to him for the time being, I think.
Yeah, Joao Pedro, Chris, has been the talk of the town this week. A lot of people, maybe fed up of Isak, even though he did score last time around. And a lot of people are doing that swap to Pedro. And then that kind of helps facilitate a lot of bigger moves to get Haaland in or get Salah in. So do you think Pedro this week is worth a punt? Because he was another one that the FPL community are very, fixed on, seeing how much of a recovery he's had after playing in the international break. He got picks surprisingly, another Pedro drops out and he has to go in, and he plays the second half of that second fixture. So would you be interested in Pedro?
Is that an alarm?
Sorry, guys. Oh my god, I'm going to mute.
I'm burning the house down. What's going on?
Sorry, Roberto, I've completely forgot what you asked.
About Pedro, do you think he's one that you definitely be looking at this week, or are you happy to just stick with the strikers you've got at the moment?
Yeah, I've considered it. Obviously, he's had a fantastic start to the season in kind of that number 10 position, but I think I can see why a lot of kind of the FPL community are a bit worried about his kind of recovery coming back from South America. I think he played on early Wednesday morning, so I think it's a tricky one because I think definitely for this weekend, it's one I wouldn't be interested in, but Brighton have good fixtures over the next 3 or 4 game weeks. So it's kind of, can you kind of endure the potential pain of him not starting this week to then reap the rewards in the forthcoming weeks after that? I think in terms of Brighton kind of assets, maybe Danny Welbeck is the safer option. Full international break he's had. I know Evan Ferguson got some minutes for Ireland, but he didn't start a game, and I think he's still kind of working his way back to fitness. So I wouldn't think Welbeck's position is in jeopardy at the moment. So to be honest, that is one of the dilemmas in my team for this week. But I think Welbeck might be the safer option, but it's just Brighton. There's like a bit of a phobia still from last season with De Zerbi, that just the rotation. They have so many good options in the forward areas now. Minter and Ciso. Obviously, they bought Reuter in, who is for big money. So yeah, it's an interesting one with Pedro, but he's just started the season so well, and so it's no surprise that his ownership is getting towards the 30% mark.
Yeah, no, I think Pedro is interesting. If you had a decision between Welbeck and Pedro, my gut would be to go for Pedro, but that's only because of the potential for penalties and
his Watford connections.
Well, the Watford, of course, but also I think the expected minutes potentially could be a bit higher for Pedro, just because I think, when Ferguson is back fit, I think Pedro playing in that 10 just means that there's more chance he gets minutes, because when Welbeck's in the 9, they've got forwards that they can bring on. I mean, Reuter can potentially play in the 10 as well.
That's what I'm thinking though, because that's where he's playing for Leeds. So I'm not sure. He's not really played much so far, has he, for Brighton? No. He's kind of had a few little cameos off the bench, but he was excellent for Leeds in that role. So they've just got so many options for rotation in those positions. So it's just risky, but you really want a piece of that Brighton forward line, I think, in the next couple of game weeks at least. So yeah, it's difficult.
What's your thoughts, Ash, on Brighton forwards? Because it's a bit of a minefield in previous seasons when it comes to minutes, but with players like Reuter there and Ciso, do you think Pedro is the one, or would you be more on the side of Danny Welbeck at the moment?
I mean, if I was chasing rank, I'd be going Welbeck. If I've got Joao Pedro, I'd be holding him. They're quite an interesting dynamic. Like on the eye, Joao Pedro is just like the ball at his feet. He's got something in it. He's definitely got a bit about him. And he looks like he's got the mentality to sort of go and drive this team forward. and he's a match winner too. But then so is Danny Welbeck. Danny Welbeck will chip in with a few goals. It's a tough one. Like, I think of the two, João Pedro is probably the best one to own. If you were punting and you were trying to chase up, then go Welbeck. But just have in the back of your mind that Evan Ferguson's waiting in the wings. Now, we don't know what the manager thinks of Ferguson, but you know, it was only a couple of seasons ago he was slamming in loads of goals for Brighton, and he was dubbed as, you know, the sort of wonder kid. So it's a tricky one. I like them both, to be honest with you. Like, João Pedro is very, very good, but I wouldn't consider bringing him in now. I've got my eye on a couple of other Brighton players that I'm sure we're going to touch on in the differential section.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. We'll book that for then. Okay, well,
sorry about the alarm, but I think the missus almost burned the house down.
No, it's all good. It's all good. It's all perfectly normal. Okay, Chris, how did you get on in game week 3? 80 points I can see there, so just one behind Ash, but a very good game week for you as well.
Yeah, not too bad in the end. I was kind of like Ash in the sense that it was only like a couple of players in my team who really kind of contributed to the quite large score. So obviously having Haaland on captaincy with a hat-trick really was brilliant. And then Salah, I mean, I didn't expect that sort of return away at United. So that was just a real pleasant surprise, really. There are a few disappointments. Obviously, Morgan Rogers against Leicester. I think a lot of people were hoping that Aston Villa assets would really kind of, just flourish against Leicester, but didn't really work out. But again, he's one of those players he's played well so far, but he's just not got those returns yet. But I think it's just a case of being patient with him and giving him a little bit more time, because they've got good fixtures, Villa, coming up, and he's been playing 90 minutes regularly. So I think that's definitely one to hold on to for now. Looking elsewhere, I mean, Isak again was good to own him, finally getting a return. The one disappointment, obviously, the glaring disappointment in my team is having Sinisterra on the bench with his 11-pointer. I mean, I never considered starting him, to be honest, so I can't be that annoyed. He came off the bench, I think, as well, so he didn't even start, but he was brilliant coming off the bench again. I think it was a goal and an assist. So, I don't know. I would consider starting him this week, but again, he's one of those players who's going to have a long flight back from, I think, is it Colombia he's from, I think, to South America. So, I think he'll be on the bench again this week. So I'm just hoping he doesn't punish me again. But all in all, decent week in the end. Just thankful to Salah and Haaland, really.
I like that. You've got the freemium setup there with Son, Salah and Haaland. Are you kind of holding fire on Son? Because, with the North London derby coming up, that could be a high-scoring game, potentially, with Arsenal's injuries.
Yeah, I'm thinking of switching Son out for Palmer this week. Well, I'm pretty sure I am. I want to get complete clarity about Palmer's his supposed injury. From what I've read, it doesn't sound like it's serious. It's just like a kind of a precautionary kind of measure to manage his fitness coming back from the Euros late. So, I really want Palmer in for these next few fixtures, because I just think he's playing more centrally now as well. And I just think that enhances his appeal even more. He's getting in, as we saw against Wolves, like the 3 assists the 3 assists he got for Madueke were like a carbon copy of each other in that little half space. Yeah. And I just think from in that position, he can cause so much damage this season. So with the fixtures Chelsea have, I mean, I definitely wanted to have a piece of their kind of forward/midfield kind of position. So, Son will be coming out this week for Palmer, I think.
Yeah. A lot of people are talking, Ash, about Madueke, being that kind of price jump from Palmer, potentially the Nkunku that we thought Nkunku would be at the start of the season. But Madueke, did look good as well in the international break, getting an assist for England. So would you be interested in getting a piece of that Chelsea attack ahead of the Bournemouth game, or are you just kind of ready to go on Palmer and avoid everyone else?
I'm not. I won't be going on Palmer. I can't afford to get to Palmer. Like Bruno's the one, but I'm keeping Bruno for away at Southampton for sure.
Yeah.
But even if I did want to do Bruno, I need to find another couple of mil to get Bruno to Palmer. So it's going to need some like severe downgrade. Like I'd have to do like Nkunku to like a 4 mil. And then that weakens my bench, and to get Palmer in, it's like it's really tough to get Palmer. Like, you can't have everyone, right? That's the name of the game. But Madueke is someone that I was very interested in after the hat trick. A lot of people I was hearing, obviously he was one of the most transferred in after that game week because of the hat trick. But then there were a lot of people on the flip side saying, "Oh, it's Chelsea. It's, he's going to be in and out of the team. They've got too many players in all these forward positions. They just signed João Felix at the time." And I was thinking, but no one else is going to play on the right wing. Like, who else is going to play right wing? Because it was either Palmer, like last season it was Palmer, but Palmer's playing centrally now. So it's only Madueke is going to play on the right wing, surely. Like, Sancho can and does play there, but he's primarily sort of deployed from the left, which is where Mudryk is, and who's the other one they've got now? Neto. They're all like left-sided players. So I feel like Madueke's kind of nailed. So for that reason, I like him. He's very dynamic. He's very direct. He can shoot both feet. He can go both ways. He's a problem, right? And that's what we like. Problem players. He's a real problem. I could have got straight to him from Nkunku, but Nkunku's price drop meant that I couldn't do it. So now it's going to mean like doing 2 moves, and I do have free transfer, so I can do it. But my decision now is, do I go Madueke or do I go for a Brighton mid and target Brighton's fixtures? That's the decision that I've got to make. And I'm fairly certain I've made it, and I'm going to go the latter route. I'm going to try and get a Brighton player in. I like Madueke. I don't think there's a wrong answer here. It's sod's law that I bring in a Brighton mid and Madueke goes off, but I'm well aware that could happen. And it also means that what also could happen is Madueke has another quiet game and my Brighton mids go off. But that's just the game we play, right? We try and predict the future.
Yeah, that's the thing. Around that kind of price point, there are a few tempting options like your Mitomas, like Bernardo Silva, if you want a piece of that Man City attack, but it's always tricky with Bernardo because he never quite consistently performs for FPL. So definitely some interesting options around that price. And I think, a bit of that Chelsea attack could be tempting. I've not looked at it myself just because I'm just waiting to see, with their kind of big squad, as you mentioned, Ash, how much that actually solidifies into a consistent setup. We know who's going to play, who's getting the minutes, because Neto's a player I absolutely love in FPL, but if he's not starting games, then he's not coming into my team. So I kind of want to know exactly who Chelsea are going to stick with. With Palmer obviously not going to be playing any of the Europa Conference games, it does kind of give an interesting dynamic for Palmer, where you could look at him and he could become much more valuable when the kind of European fixtures are being played. So definitely an interesting team to talk about, Chelsea. So then to round off your team, Chris, as well as the Sinistera benching pain, unfortunate for you, Kamada and Armstrong, a couple of differentials you went for at the start of the season, they've not quite come off. So are you getting twitchy about them, or are you just willing to kind of let their fixtures do the talking in the coming weeks?
I think for Kamada, no, I'm not. I think he's kind of adjusting to the league, and I saw signs in the Chelsea game. I'm a Chelsea fan, so I watched the whole thing, and he was really good. He was really good, and he was getting in really threatening positions. And I think he's playing obviously in a really good forward line with Eze, Mateta. I think those goal contributions will come, and at 0.3%, I think he's still a nice little differential to own. So especially with the fixture this coming week with Leicester at home, I like that. So he's one I'm keeping faith in. Armstrong, on the other hand, he got subbed, I think, against Brentford at half time, which bit concerning. But I think I'm going to keep faith with him one more week and then kind of reassess next week, depending on his minutes, because I think Brereton Diaz is another player who's coming back late from international duty from South America. So I feel like Armstrong will start, but I think he's one who he's on the chopping.
Yeah, a player on the chopping block for sure. And I think he's one of those players.
I'm quite happy. It's not really a concern.
Yeah, he's one of those players at the start of the season that price-wise looked, very tantalising, but it's just not quite clicked for Southampton in attack at the moment. So hopefully, he can come good in that Man United game, and potentially, those fixtures afterwards, he could really look an attractive option. Okay, well, I got on with game week 3. Okay, it was a red arrow, which was a bit frustrating, but I made just the one transfer. The transfer, actually, we discussed in last week's episode with Alf. I brought in Rodgers for Rashford because I wanted a piece of that Aston Villa attack against Leicester. I felt that that could be a nice fixture for Villa. And as you mentioned earlier, Rodgers is looking really positive. It's just not quite getting that goal yet. He's always in offensive attacking positions and looking threatening, and he just doesn't seem to be able to quite get that assist yet or that attacking return. But I definitely feel like a return is coming against Everton, so very happy to kind of stay patient with him.
He scored a couple of goals, didn't he, for the England under-21s at the mighty Kenilworth Road the other night?
Yeah, so I wonder, obviously with Douglas Luiz now left, him being on penalty duty last season, whether or not he will get the penalties for Villa this season. I mean, there is a few contenders for Villa, isn't there? Potentially McGinn could be on them. Tielemans, who has taken them before when he was at Leicester. So yeah, definitely an interesting dynamic there, but it makes Rodgers all the more potentially exciting if we can get evidence of that. And I was pretty happy with my back line, to be honest, because outside of Konza and Aina, who they were kind of cheap options at the start of the season. Aina did really well for me in game week 2. But outside of that, it's just been a bit, I've paid for what I've got really with a Forest defender, and he's still got good fixtures, in the future, but I'm not sure I'll be holding him much longer. With Konza though, that was a bit of a shame because I brought him in Konza so that I could start him in this nice run. So I'm hoping that, against Everton, a clean sheet will come in, but with the international break being a bit of a, annoying one like it can be, it brings that injury for Konza where it doesn't look a serious one, but it's one that is being monitored, and the kind of comments were that he seems to have recovered okay, but it's just we need that, I feel, 100% confirmation from Unai in the press conference on Friday. So he could potentially be a transfer, if I feel that he's not going to be playing this week. I could move to another defender around the same price, like a Lewis Dunk, who's got a bit of goal threat. Do you think you would be wavering on Konza, Ash, or are you kind of thinking he'll play this weekend?
I mean, I don't really know. I didn't watch the England. I watched bits of it. I didn't see the injuries. I don't know how bad it was. And perhaps you can tell me like what it was, how it happened.
I wasn't watching, but when I saw, I didn't watch it live, but when I saw the highlights, it initially looked like a bit of a one that could be out for a couple of weeks, but the kind of news from those involved has been a lot more positive than was initially feared. So I'm kind of optimistic. I'm telling myself that it won't be long term. So it could just be for 1 week, but then it just makes me have a bit of an issue at the back because I've got Aina playing against Liverpool, Ben Johnson away to Brighton, which I don't love, and so Trent is just very much carrying this defense alongside Munoz, who's got a nice fixture against Leicester. So I do feel that potentially a transfer could be happening there if Konza's not 100%. But
who's on your bench in defence?
So I've got Daniel Munoz, who I can bring in for the Leicester game, and then
mate, yeah, play Munoz, mate. You're right.
Then I've got Johnson away to Brighton if I want to play a back 3. So it's
not that bad. Like if
it's not horrendous. For one game week having Johnson, but to be fair though, he didn't start, did he, last game? So
he started the Man City game and got an assist.
Yeah, but then he got dropped, didn't he, for the next game? So it's I don't know.
Because who Villa got this week? Did you say?
Villa have got Everton. So if
home, isn't it?
Yeah. So if Konza was fit, I'd wanted to have played him alongside Trent and Munoz, but just not 100% sure. So we'll get more news on that from Emery. But yeah, it's not the end of the world, I guess.
I think you've got enough backup. Like if Konza doesn't feature, you've got good cover from Munoz coming off the bench there. So I don't think that's a major concern. For others that perhaps don't have ideal cover or sufficient cover on the bench in defensive areas, it might be worth making the transfer out for Konsa. But I always say it's best to wait, like you say, until the press conference news. Is wait until there's a really good deadline stream on the TVs to help you make your decisions. Streamception.
Absolutely.
What was that? I don't even know what that was.
Free plug on the TFIT pod.
Oh, absolutely. The Streamception plug will be coming later. Don't you worry. We'll have a little mention of that, of course. I was fairly happy with Trent again because he's picking up good attacking numbers, but we just feel like that haul is on the horizon. So hopefully it comes in one of these 2 home games against Forest or Bournemouth. And then the midfield, Jota's absolutely not the enough cover for Salah. I didn't expect that he would be. I just hoped that the damage wouldn't be as much as it has. But Salah's just been absolutely incredible to start the season. So Salah is the one that I really want in this team now. And I'm very glad I did make the Rodgers move with that in mind, because I thought, well, if Salah goes off against Man United, I might want to try and get Salah in one move in Gameweek 4. So I've got enough money to do Saka to Salah in one move, which is quite nice, knowing a lot of people were having to sacrifice Isak, potentially having to wildcard to get Salah in alongside Haaland. So that's a move that I'm probably thinking about this week if Konsa's 100%. But yeah, I mean, there are transfers I could make here. Like I've looked at Eberechi Eze at home to Leicester, which could be very tempting. But the front line, I'm still fairly happy with. Munoz and Isak have been frustrating, but they've got great fixtures, haven't they, Chris? So it feels like a bit of a tricky one to, move them off too quickly, perhaps.
Yeah, no, I think you definitely want to kind of stay patient with those 2 forwards. And when you've got Haaland there and getting those big numbers as well, you can kind of afford your strikers not to go off as much. I mean, Isak, a 9-point return is good against Spurs as well. And I think his next 2 fixtures look pretty decent. So, it's. I think stay patient with them both. I don't know. Did Muniz have international duty at all over? I don't know, to be honest. But if he didn't, then if he didn't, then I think again he's a good option to have for Fulham's fixture this weekend.
Yeah, against West Ham, I'm happy to go with Muniz, but if he blanks again, I'll be very kind of thinking about other players like Pedro, like maybe a Nicholas Jackson, perhaps with Chelsea's good run of fixtures. I think I could get a little bit twitchy, but if I do think about a wild card in the coming weeks anyway, then Muniz and Isak potentially won't be there for that long. In the kind of short term, I might be moving them around anyway. And then so all in all, 72 points, red arrow, but it was down to really Jota and kind of Muniz blanking really, and that was unfortunate, but it happened in previous weeks. So I'm looking at those players and I don't hate them. I think they could come good in the coming weeks with Liverpool's nice run of fixtures. Just hoping that this team kind of goes off in Gameweek 4 a little bit more than it has been recently, but not the end of the world. So that's our Gameweek 3s then. Looking ahead to Gameweek 4, obviously it's a interesting weekend of action with Southampton, Man United, the first game of the game week. So we'll look at some potential differentials we could go for the upcoming game week. And Ash, are there any under 10% owned that are tickling your fancy? Because a few of these fixtures, Liverpool, Forest, Man City, Brentford, there could be a lot of goals potentially there. So are you going to be picking some attackers to get some goals?
Yeah, mate, for sure. So obviously I alluded to a couple of the changes that I was going to make in my team earlier. One of the changes is going to be Nkunku to Yankuba Minte of Brighton, who's I find it absolutely astonishing he's only 2% owned. I think that might have even gone down. I think people might be moving off of him. I don't know, but I'll tell you what, this kid has got something about him. He's a baller. He's a problem. You know why I say that word? Problem. He is such a problem for these teams. They can't cope with his jinkiness, his pace, his directness. He can go both ways. He's just rapid, mate. Honestly. And he's been getting, I think he's probably been going under the radar because he's not been getting big returns. He's been getting little returns, which is a good sign in my opinion. People look at it like, oh, it depends how you look at it, right? It's down to perspective. You might look at it and go, he's not got enough of an end product. I'm looking at it going, well, he got taken off in the first game with concussion. The next game, was his next game back after the concussion. And then the last game was against Arsenal, and he got 2 returns out of the 3. So, you can look at it from the perspective that he's due to get a haul very, very soon. And you look at who he's playing next at home to Ipswich, who just got absolutely thumped. So they're coming off the back of a real mauling, and they're going to be trying to... I don't even know how they're going to approach this game, because Brighton can play football. Brighton are a very good footballing team. If Ipswich go there and try and think they can outplay them at football, they're going to lose. If they go there trying to think they're going to play a low block and try and hit them on the counter, they're probably going to lose, because they've got players like Minter, and on the other side, another player who I will mention, who can unlock things. And they've got João Pedro now. They've got options up front now with Welbeck and Ferguson coming back. So Ipswich are bang in trouble, mate. And that's why I want a bit of Minter.
I think Minter's a very exciting shout, because, like you said, he's looked so threatening. And there's been a stat about right wingers up against Ipswich so far this season. All of them have returned. You've got Adama Traore, Salah, you've got, Doku, I think, has got an assist or something. So there's been
that would have been Savino.
That's it. Yeah. Savino, So it's been a problem that side for Ipswich. And I think definitely he could be one that does return big in game week 4, because he's always looked threatening, just not quite got the massive returns yet.
Yeah. So he's pretty much locked for me. The other one is the other side of the same team, Kaoru Mitoma. Again, mate, he's just a problem, isn't he? He's just naughty. He's just on stuff. I love watching him play, because he's so direct with his attacking. Again, another player that he's so tricky. You can go both ways. He's got pace. He gets to the byline a hell of a lot. He's got cutbacks. He's got final ball. And it was between him and Madueke for me on who I brought in. That was the decision. Then, because of the price drop of Nkunku, I couldn't afford to do that direct move. So then that ruled them both out. So then I've gone to the next best option, which could be the better option in Minter, because then it frees me up more funds to then upgrade my defense, which we've already identified needs a bit of work. So I think for me, that's the most optimal and sensible move for me, is to do Nkunku to Minter, and then I can upgrade Barco, who's we know is red flagged and stuff, and not in the game anymore, to a defender who can actually contribute towards my team's points. So Kaoru Mitoma, he's still a differential, 9% owned, 6.6 mil. Again, we know the fixture, home to Ipswich. The next fixture is good too, home to Nottingham Forest. Then they've got Chelsea away, which again, Chelsea can get opened up easy as well. It can happen. So I'm really liking the Brighton fixtures. So they're my 2 main differentials that I'd recommend at the moment: Kaoru Mitoma and Yankuba Minter.
Yeah, you mentioned about replacement for Barco. Who are you looking at in defence?
Really boring one, mate. Really, really boring one. It'll be Ibrahima Konate, Liverpool. Everyone, I know it's boring. I know that, but a bit like the Raya pick for Arsenal, I want some cover at the back from some of the best teams. Raya is the cheapest one. Konate is the cheapest one for Liverpool. It makes sense. 3 clean sheets from 3. He's the cheapest way in. Since he's been in the team, they've, like I said, not conceded a goal, but they've gone and won 3 games in a row. Quanta looks like he's finished, mate. I'll be honest. I was on the Quanta hype. It burned me, and it just makes sense to me. And if I do this move of Nkunku to Minter, I've got the exact money to get Barco up to Konate. So, and then I've got Arsenal cover, I've got Liverpool cover, I've got Tottenham with Pedro Porro, and then I've got a couple of playing 4 mils, and I've got Tariq Mitchell, who's got a home to Leicester. So that's who I'm thinking. But if I didn't want to go down the Konate route, I've got 5 million to play with, and there's a lot of options there.
Yeah, there's a lot of options in defence. We mentioned earlier Brighton, got Lewis Dunk, who's, got great set piece potential against Ipswich and Forest. You've got Lewis, who's been the, talk of the town for Man City, but it's a bit of a stressful one, because that, Walker starting to get back in training with Foden, and so you just don't know when Carl could.
Yeah, that one's too stressful for me. That one.
Yeah, it feels very stressful. So yeah, definitely some good defensive options. So all in all, your differentials, Mitoma, Minter, and who's your third one?
My third one, a little bit outside the box here, Dominic Szoboszlai. I think because obviously Luis Diaz and Salah and Jota are all sort of taking the limelight. I think there is space if you wanted to be different to go with Dominic Szoboszlai, because he is playing number 10. He's nailed in that position. He got 7 points in the first game, blanked against Brentford, and he got 6 points against United. And we know he should have slammed that chance home from 6 yards instead of taking a touch and losing the chance. So it should have been more. He should have been on 12 points from the Man United game. So I think he's quite exciting. I think the question you have to ask yourself when you're looking at bringing someone like Szoboszlai into your team is Luis Diaz 1 mil? Is he worth 1 mil more than Szoboszlai? Is he worth the extra money? Is Jota worth the extra mil than Dominic Szoboszlai? If the answer to that question is no, then obviously leave it. But I think if you wanted to be different and you're chasing rank, Szoboszlai is a great pick. How often do you get a nailed number 10 from Liverpool in your team for 6.5 million? Do you know what I mean? So it sounds good, and it seems like Slot has really put his faith in him being that guy in the team, the one that plays century, the one that makes the darts in behind. Like on another day, that Luis Diaz chance, the header at Man U, that goes to Szoboszlai, and he probably buries that, you know?
Yeah.
And again, like I've talked about with Canate, Liverpool got some great fixtures. The next 3, Forest at home, that should be a 3-0 on paper. Bournemouth at home, another 3-0 on paper. Wolves away, probably another 3-0, to be honest with you. Like the way that Wolves have started, you could see it happening. The way that Liverpool started, you could see that happening too. So, yeah, an interesting one. Not one I'm on, but one that I've looked at more than once on one occasion.
Yeah, it's a very nice, cheap way into that Liverpool attack. And yeah, as you say, with Szoboszlai, given that role he's been given by Slot this season, there's potentially a lot of routes to points. You know, you've seen him taking quite a lot of set pieces, some actually off Trent as well. So, you know, you could see a lot more returns from that avenue. So, yeah, thanks for those differentials. We'll see how many of those return this coming weekend. Chris, how are your differentials? How are your differentials looking? And how are you going to beat Ash this weekend?
Oh God. So I also had Minter. I mean, that was just, Ash said it all there. I think he's very much going under the radar in that kind of Brighton forward line. And I think, like I said, there is definitely a return brewing there from him, especially with the fixtures they have coming up. So yeah, he was one of them. I also have the much maligned Nicholas Jackson as one of my differentials. Not out of bias or anything as a Chelsea fan, but I just think with Chelsea's fixture this week, I really like it. And Jackson he's returned in 2 out of the 3 games so far this season. Did well in the international break as well for Senegal. I think he gets a lot of criticism, but I think he's actually a really good striker. And he might not get the big returns of a Haaland or I don't know, Salah, but I think for a game against Bournemouth, I do fancy him to get some sort of contribution. So, yeah, he was the other one. I can't remember exactly what his ownership was, but I think it was 6 or 7%. So it was in that range. And then finally, who did I have? Let me just have a quick look. It was Kamada, actually, from Palace. I'm still on the Kamada train. I think a return is coming from him. I know Eze's been kind of taking the limelight, and fair enough, he's such a great player, but at 1.5 mil less expensive, I do think Kamada is a good route into a very good attack in this division. So yeah, I'm having him as one of my differentials at 0.3% owned.
Kamada's interesting because he obviously, as a new player, it's always a bit of a risk to go with a new player to see how they adjust and, you know, whether they'll quickly get off the mark. But there's good signs there, perhaps. And with those, you know, nice fixtures for Palace, that could bring some returns in the coming weeks. So is that that's 2 of them, isn't it? Is there one more?
No, so I've got Minter, Jackson, and
Minter. Yeah, no, that's interesting. So yeah, Ash and Chris agreed on Minter. I've also gone for a Brighton player, not an attacker though. I've gone for someone who obviously a lot of people have forgotten about because a lot of last season he had his problems, he had his injuries. But I think someone that might be going under the radar. He played 18 minutes last week, and it's Pervis Estupiñán. Now, whether or not he'll definitely start this weekend, we'll have to wait and see. But if you're maybe wildcarding in game week 6 and you want a high upside pick for the next couple of weeks before you wildcard, there could be a lot of potential with Estupiñán in those 2 games because, you've got attacking threat and you've got 2 games, Ipswich and Forest, where you would fancy Verbruggen kept a couple of clean sheets. Now, we know on his day, Estupiñán, how good he can be, how explosive he can be. And at 0.4% owned, you're potentially going there right before everyone else, and it could really pay off. So that's my first one. What do you reckon about that, Ash? Estupiñán?
Interesting one, mate. Very interesting. I see what you're doing here. Hinshelwood isn't the left back. He's been playing left back. I assume because they're waiting for Pervis Estupiñán to get fit. They let Barco go. He was the other left back. So it makes sense. And we know what he can do. 2 goals and 3 assists. He got into 15 starts last season. So he's got major attacking threat. And I do like it. And I think the fact he's been out for so long is obviously the reason why he's definitely been slept on. And he's only 0.4% owned at the moment. I think for me, though, he hasn't started a game where he did. No, he did not start a game this season, has he? He's not started a game this season. So until he starts starting games regularly, I can't consider him. Not now. Not yet. The fixtures, yes. The player at the moment, no, for me.
Okay. Well, we'll see if he does start and how much of an impact he can have this weekend. But the other player I've gone for is another defender from a team I do think will keep a clean sheet this week, and it is Aston Villa. Whilst everyone's kind of sweating on the fitness potentially of Ezri Konsa, I think Pau Torres is one that, could be a really good buy because he's a very safe player when it comes to minutes. Started all 3 of the games this season. And there is a bit of concern about, will he potentially come out when the likes of Mings comes back from injury. But for now, I believe that he's, very likely to play. And he doesn't have a lot of attacking threat, but from a set piece, he's the sort of player who could definitely, dominate aerially. So I think against Everton, who we know have, not had a lot of goal scoring capabilities in the previous last few seasons. And yes, they threw it away against Bournemouth, but I think that Everton attack is still really struggling for confidence. So I think clean sheet potential, maybe a return from an attacking return. That could be a nice one for Pau Torres. And the final one I've gone for, this might be a bit of an unpopular pick, but it's why he's a differential, I suppose. He started the season really well, and it's Adama Traore. Now, Fulham, their fixture run is starting to get a little worse. And I think by game week 7, everyone will kind of have jumped shipped on those Fulham attackers. But with West Ham, Newcastle and Forest in the next 3, I think Traore is kind of overperforming what a lot of people expected. He has been, struggling to emulate that form he showed during his time at Wolves. But Chris, do you think Adama Traore, everyone's got Smith Rowe. Is Traore the way to go at 2.9% owned?
I like it, to be honest. Yeah, he's just so inconsistent. It's like you don't know what you're going to get from him, but in a way, that's a good thing. He's just so unpredictable. But yeah, I like it as a way into that kind of Fulham attack without going big with like a Smith Rowe or a potentially Pereira or something like that. But yeah, I think that's a good pick. He scored in his last game, obviously, so he's probably got a bit of confidence going into this game. So yeah, no, I like it, to be fair.
Well, those are our differentials for game week 4. Now, we'll quickly run through and see what people's thoughts are on a few wildcard drafts. Now, the first one I've got up here, I have to credit, very, very impressive team assembled by FPL Olympian. So I had a little look at it and thought, it got me thinking. In goal, Verbruggen, Trent, Robertson, Lewis and Pau Torres at the back. Salah, Eze, Minter and Rodgers in midfield, and Haaland and Welbeck up top, with a very strong bench of Flecken, Mbeumo, Calvert-Lewin, and Mikalenko. What are you saying about that, Ash? Do you think that's a enticing wildcard draft?
I actually love it. Who's done this?
FPL Olympian.
FPL Olympian's ahead of the curve, mate. He's doing some bits here. All right, so he's got triple Liverpool, triple Brighton, double City, double Villa, and then obviously Burmo for after the City game. They got Spurs, and they got the sickest run. Calvert-Lewin, if he stays fit, he could be a good pick this season. Yes, you heard me right. I think he could be a good pick this season. Not to start every week, but if you're rotating him with Welbeck, fantastic. And then Ezra's just a bit of a dynamo as well. There's not a lot to not like. I suppose the question marks are, is Robertson worth the money when he's not really getting forward as much as he used to? That's not to say he's not getting forward, but he's not getting forward as much. And is he on set pieces as much anymore as well? I don't think so. No. So I don't know if he's worth that money, and perhaps that money might be better off spent on Ben White or someone along those lines. He's going to have a problem with Rico Lewis, I think, at some point soon, probably. When I think we've all seen Walker back in training. I think we see some photos of City that City have put out with Foden and Walker back in full training and getting back to fitness. So his starts and minutes in the team are on a really short string at the moment. So that would be the concern. Mikalenko as cover on the bench at the start of the season, yes. After watching Everton, no. I can't advocate for that at the moment. Everton need to tighten up big time. And maybe when they get Braithwaite back, that will change. I don't know. And then, Pau Torres in there. Cool. Safe pick, like you say. But Villa haven't kept a clean sheet in 3 games. So whether he's going to get the points or not, I don't know.
It's an interesting little draft. This was one, actually, Chris, that I rustled up. Had a little kind of play with it just to see if I'd be tempted by a Game Week 4 wildcard before my potential Game Week 6 wildcard. So Verbruggen in goal, Trent and Robbo at the back yet again, Pau Torres, Robinson, midfield of Smith Rowe, Rodgers, Minter and Salah, and then Haaland and Pedro up front. The only difference here is, the potential looking towards an Arsenal kind of return of players in Game Week 6. So you got Gabriel there on the bench, and then Wissa and Mbeumo ready already for Brentford's run of fixtures alongside Flecken. So do you think, Chris, that this is a team that you'd be tempted enough to hit the wild card with? Or, with the team that I've got, it's not that different to this, is it? So would you potentially just wait a couple of weeks and see how you get on in Game Week 6?
Yeah, I think it's probably the best strategy to kind of bide your time a little bit with the wild card if you possibly can. But looking at that draft, it does look very enticing. I mean, you've obviously got the Liverpool defence there and the Brighton coverage over these next couple of game weeks, which it looks really nice, that team. I like the fact that you've got Mbeumo and Wissa on the bench. I think when Brentford's fixtures turn, those two could be really lucrative assets. And obviously you've got Arsenal as well. So yeah, it's a solid kind of balanced team as well, even with Haaland and Salah in there. So I could see why you'd be tempted by using it, activating your wild card for Game Week 4. But yeah, it's probably the sensible hat kind of is telling me that it's probably best to hold on. But it looks very good, that, to be fair.
Yeah, I was very tempted, but I think my logic will be I want to get more information about, with the European kind of Champions League coming in between Game Weeks 4 and 5, we'll get to know more about certain players from those teams. And I think the fixture swings in Game Week 6, getting triple Arsenal, getting triple Brentford is something that I might not want to do now, but will want to do Game Week 6. And so it doesn't mean I can get that easily in just free transfers between now and then. So I think with having just one free transfer in the bank, I'll probably just wait for Game Week 6 and wildcard then. But it was something that did play on my mind. So that's the wildcard discussion. The last thing we're going to run over before we get into the quiz is the mini leagues. Now, the mini league that we run, Ash, is a like a head-to-head basis.
Okay.
Funnily enough, last week. I don't think you are.
You probably, yeah. To be fair, I wouldn't want me in it if I was you, to be honest, because I'll probably win every week.
Well, yeah, that's the thing.
You dodged a bullet.
Yeah, maybe we've all dodged a bullet in that league. But funnily enough, last week it was me against you, Chris, wasn't it? And you got the dub 80-72. So fair play, well done.
Go on, Chris.
It was a close one though, very close.
Very close. And all in all, some great scores in the league. The best score of the week though was a very, very impressive 88 points from Ostino FC. And so going into game week 4, we got still Danielle with his team Darwizzy at the top with 9 points. I'm down in 17th spot, so not a good start to the season. But it's been an even worse start for those teams you can see there. Ben Vokes, Robber, Jamie is on 3, but then Suresh on 0. So yeah, some interesting fixtures next week. We'll see how we get on in match week 4, but we'll go again next week. Now, we're going to end with a quiz, Ash, and what we like to do is have a little buzzer noise, so you kind of can buzz in with your guesses. So what is your buzzer noise going to be this week? Okay, I love it. Inventive. What about you then?
From the road, get me.
Yeah, King Cole. He always goes with it. It's tried and tested, and it's reliable to win the quiz.
What is it?
King Cole.
King Cole.
That's not a buzzer noise.
Yeah, it is.
It's just a word,
it's a
bro.
phrase.
That's just a word.
Yeah,
There's no noise in that.
Words or noises, they both work.
Oh, okay.
It's not in the contract.
I thought it was. I thought that's what I was saying. Sorry, okay.
We didn't put it in the small print. Sorry about that.
Okay.
But, no, very good, Chris. Okay, let's get into it. The first round of questions are what we like to call and what are very well known as career path questions. So the first question, I'm going to give you the clubs this player has been at. Buzz in when you know it. If you get the question wrong, whoever buzzes in first gets it wrong. The other person gets a go at it. That person's frozen out momentarily. And if that other person gets it wrong, then it just keeps passing back until somebody gets it. So first up,
I feel like I want to question a sport.
Has played for Chelsea.
Could be anyone.
Reading. Watford. Yep.
Is it Michael Mancienne?
It is not.
Oh,
frozen out. Chris,
wow,
do you need more clubs or shall I carry on?
Yes, please. More clubs.
Okay. After Watford, Bournemouth.
King Cole.
Yep.
Nathan Ake.
That is correct. That is correct. He's Nathan Ake. Yeah. After Bournemouth, I was going to say Manchester City. So Chelsea, Reading, Watford, Bournemouth, Manchester City. All right, 1-0 to Chris. This next one, Ash, let's see how you get on. West Ham United, Bournemouth, Tottenham Hotspur, Portsmouth, Toronto. Ash.
That is Jermaine Defoe.
That is correct. It is.
Come on.
He's got an equaliser. Very well done. Yeah, the other clubs, Sunderland, Bournemouth, Rangers, and then Sunderland again. Yes, that was Jermaine Defoe. So it's 1-1 on the career paths. The final career path question. The first club is Mechelen.
Say what?
Mechelen.
What, like the tyres?
No. Manchester City.
Huh?
Troyes. Marseille. Luton Town.
What?
Benfica.
Yes, that is Issa Kabore.
That is correct.
Yes, come on.
I threw in an ex-Chelsea and an ex-Luton there, and Ash is 2-1 up going into the final two questions. And these questions are, with the Champions League returning after Game Week 4's run of fixtures, I've got a couple of Champions League themed questions. So this one, buzz in when you know. I want you to name me the 2013 Champions League winners.
King Cole.
Yep.
Bayern Munich.
That is correct. Yeah,
Bro, I
Bayern
hate
Munich.
Champions League. You can
They
have this
got
round,
the
bro.
job done. They got the job done in 2013. Of course, Bayern Munich there. Very good. Iron Robin winner against Dortmund. 2018, there was
Are we supposed to be buzzing in?
I haven't finished the question yet.
Oh,
Ash.
sorry. Oh,
Question.
sorry,
He's too eager.
So whilst Chris is 2-2 at this point, we are going into the final question. It's a final decider. So 2018, the score was 3-1 in the Champions League final. But can you tell me who the teams were? Yep.
Wait, what year was it?
2018.
2018, and it was 3-1.
Yep.
Yeah, so that would have been Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Is that right?
You've got to get both of them.
Was that right?
You've got to get both of them.
I'm so guessing right now. Real Madrid and Liverpool.
Correct.
Yes! Come on.
There it is.
That's what I'm talking about.
You've laid the elite FPL demons to rest there, I think.
I told you guys, they stitched me up. You give me some proper questions like that, and I can answer them. You know what I mean?
Oh, well,
it's all in the Quizmaster.
That's it.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that quiz, and I hope you enjoyed this episode, everyone. So thanks very much, Ash, for coming on. It's been great fun. And yeah, we really appreciate you coming on. Hope you enjoyed.
Yeah, I did, mate. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me. I enjoyed myself. It's always great to get a dub on the old quiz. And yes, apologies once again for the house alarm going off and me having to skedaddle momentarily just to make sure that no one was dead in the house. Yeah, you can't legislate for those things. So hopefully it hasn't ruined it for you. But yeah, I appreciate you coming.
Of course not,
guys.
No, absolutely. You were a top guest, and we really appreciate coming on. Shout out to, of course, FPL Juice, who every week produce amazing content. And last week was no different. Great show, has to be said, with Jim Daly, who came on. Really, really funny one. And of course, you can catch FPL Juice on YouTube every deadline, Streamception. And Streamception is something I will be going on very, very soon, Ash. So how can people watch that and follow that on Saturday mornings?
Streamception, that'll be 1.5 hours prior to every deadline for the rest of the season from our lovely studio, Mill Hill. So make sure you head over to FPL Juice on the YouTube channel, hit subscribe, turn the notifications on, and you will never miss a show.
Absolutely. I'm absolutely buzzing to go there for my first Streamception. So yeah, it's going to be carnage, I'm sure. But
it's a bit different to the Tuesday show, as you know, because it is more in depth in terms of that particular game week, press conference news, top stories, any other business from that particular week, like European fixtures. And we go into it a bit more than on the Tuesday show, which is more of a light-hearted entertainment show, as we like to call it. So it'll be good to have you on. Obviously, we want to get more guests on this season. I don't know where you're from, where you live, where you're based, Chris, but you're more than welcome to come and join us for a Streamception as well. But yeah, looking forward to welcoming you on for that one.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And hopefully, I was tempted to hit the wildcard in Gameweek4 based on that alone, just to show off my impressive wildcard. Then I also thought, if it goes badly and it's an absolute flop, I won't want to hang my head in shame and be there. So yeah, I'm being more tentative perhaps and holding off on that wildcard. But before we do go, I have to give a shout out to Alf FPL, who came on last week and was a great guest as well. But very, very nice words. Tweeted out that he'd given us a vote in the Content Creator Fund. So much appreciated. Ash, if those that don't know, you can tell them about this Content Creator Fund, because it's a great initiative towards content creators starting out content. So what's it all about?
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly what it is. It's an initiative that we've developed this season on the FPL Juice show, and as part of our community spirit and wanting to give back to the community, the FPL community in particular, we've devised this Content Creator Fund, which is for podcasts, FPL content creators, a bit like yourselves, to gain some recognition. It's essentially a vote so that people vote for who they like. So if there's somebody that you listen to regularly, someone that you like online, that you feel like is not getting the credit they deserve for the efforts they're putting in, you can vote for them for the FPL Content Creator Fund. And the top 4 votes every single month will go into a live poll on our live Tuesday show, where the live chat will vote for one winner, and that winner will receive 50% of our membership fees that we've accumulated in that month on the channel. So it's our way of giving back to people like yourselves who are dedicating their hard, their time, their money, their resources into putting out content, amazing content that most people look at and don't realize comes at a particular cost and sacrifice. And it's our way of rewarding them. But it's not us doing it, it's you. We've just given people the platform to do it. It's not us voting for people, it's the public voting for the people. But they need to be nominated. So if you're listening to this now and you're loving the Form is Temporary podcast, head over to any of our social media accounts, go to the Content Creator Fund link, click on that, vote for the Form is Temporary, and who knows, they might win and they might get a portion of our membership fees next month. Who knows?
Absolutely. No, thank you very much for that, Ash. And thank you very much, Alf, for that vote. It was very much appreciated when he tweeted that out. And we're going to end the pod by quickly saying, who are we captaining this week, Chris?
It's got to be big man Erling.
Ash?
Erling Braut Haaland.
Well, my transfer this week will be Saka to Salah. So I'm going to be captaining the Egyptian King at home to Nottingham Forest.
Oh.
And that is episode 4, game week 4. Thanks for listening, everyone. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.